They called her a loser. They had no idea she was a trained weapon. The cafeteria roared with lunchtime noise, then fell silent. The moment Emma hit the floor, her lunch tray spun across the glossy tiles, food exploding in a messy circle. Laughter erupted from one corner, loud, cruel, echoing. 3 boys, all muscle and arrogance, towered over her, sneering, as if they owned the whole damn place. "Welcome to Ridgeway High, loser," one of them mocked, his voice dripping with false concern. But behind Emma's calm, steel-gray eyes, something else simmered, something none of them noticed. A silence sharpened by years of disciplined training. A deep-seated pain perfectly disguised as patience. She pushed herself up slowly, deliberately, brushing the strayed dirt and spilled sauce from her worn jeans. No one, absolutely no one knew. This fragile-looking new girl had spent her entire childhood, years, training under her late father, a decorated Marine. What they saw was a girl who clearly wouldn't fight back. What they didn't know was the vow she had made, never to fight, unless she absolutely had to. Today, they were about to learn precisely what "had to" truly meant. Emma Carter had arrived at Ridgeway High with almost nothing. A small faded backpack, worn-out sneakers, and a quiet stare. A stare that spoke volumes of long sleepless nights, of heavy, unshakable memories. She had moved from base to base all her life. Her father, Sergeant Michael Carter, was more than just a Marine instructor. He was her first and most important teacher. He taught her unwavering discipline. Before she even learned multiplication, he drilled into her how to stay utterly calm under crushing pressure, how to subtly read people, even their hidden intentions, and most importantly, how to defend herself, not with pride, not with anger, but with precision, with purpose. But he was gone now. Lost forever in a training accident just 2 years earlier, Emma had made him a sacred promise. She would never use her rigorous training to hurt anyone, not unless it was to protect herself, or someone truly helpless. Ridgeway High. It was supposed to be her fresh start, her clean slate. But high school wasn't a battlefield of roaring guns. No, it was much, much worse. Here words, whispers, cruel, cutting laughter. They could wound, deeper, more permanently than any physical bullet. From the very moment Emma walked through those crowded hallways, she felt the constant stares. Her clothes were simple, practical. Her hair tied back with a faded, well-worn band. She didn't talk much. She didn't try to desperately fit in, and that was more than enough reason for people like Jason Miller and his notorious gang, Tyler and Brent, to immediately mark her. Mark her as their next target, Jason Miller. He was the unquestioned star of the basketball team, confident, loud, always needing to be the center of attention. Picking on quiet, unassuming students like Emma, that gave him plenty of it. He smugly called it harmless fun. But to the innocent ones he relentlessly targeted, it was pure, unadulterated humiliation. Played out in broad daylight. For the first few agonizing weeks, Emma simply ignored them. She ate her lunch alone in a quiet corner, focused meticulously on her notes, kept her head down, always. But bullies, they don't disappear. They feed on silence. Every single day they grew bolder, more audacious, tossing crumpled notes directly at her, hiding her textbooks, tripping her in the hallway, almost always accidentally. One ordinary day, as she was picking up her latest spilled lunch from the grimy cafeteria floor, she heard a soft, quiet voice beside her. "You shouldn't let them treat you like that." It was Lily Thompson. A small girl with bright, observant eyes and a noticeable limp in her walk. She had polio as a child and relied on a brace to move around. "They used to do the same to me," Lily said, her voice barely a whisper. "But you can't stay quiet forever." Emma offered a faint, almost imperceptible smile. "I've learned that silence can sometimes be stronger than shouting." Lily frowned, a flicker of disappointment in her eyes. "Not in this school, Emma. Here, silence is weakness." Emma didn't reply. But those words, Lily's words, they stayed with her. They echoed. That very same afternoon, the bullies struck again. This time they cornered her near the lockers. A confined space. Jason grinned, a predator's smile. "You think you're too good for us, huh? New girl?" Emma said nothing. Her silence was a challenge. He grabbed her precious notebook, ripped out pages, deliberately, letting them flutter down like grotesque snowflakes across the floor. "Say something," he snarled, stepping closer. Her voice, when it came, was unnervingly calm. "You done?" Jason's arrogant grin faded. "Just slightly." "What did you just say?" "I said, are you done?" The entire hallway fell quiet. A sudden, unexpected hush. Something in her tone, soft but solid, unsettled him. But Tyler, ever the loyal, aggressive sidekick, laughed loud and shoved her shoulder hard. "She's got attitude now." Emma took a slow, measured breath. Her late father's voice, a steady whisper, echoed in her mind. "Control your body before your anger controls you." She turned, calmly picked up her torn papers, and walked off. That was the first time. The very first time anyone had ever simply walked away from Jason Miller's group. Without trembling, without crying. And it didn't just annoy them, it infuriated them. To their core, the next day their plans were different. Something darker, something crueler. It was Friday, the day everyone waited for. The cafeteria buzzed with 1,000 conversations, with laughter, with music blaring from phones. Emma sat alone at her usual inconspicuous spot, quietly eating her sandwich. That's when Jason and his 2 friends approached. Lily was nearby, watching them, her hands clenched nervously under the table. "Hey, Carter," Jason called out, his voice carrying. "Didn't see you at the game last night? Maybe you were home practicing crying?" The students around them snickered. A wave of cruel laughter washed over Emma. She looked up, unbothered. "You done that line again?" That simple question, that unshakable calm, it made Jason's jaw clench. He walked closer, placed both his hands on her table, leaning in menacingly. "You think you're tough?" "You're not. You're just scared." Tyler smirked, a quick, deliberate flick of her juice box, spilling its sticky contents all over her lunch, and her simple shirt. "Oops." Emma's breath slowed, imperceptibly, her knuckles tightened under the table. To white, but she didn't move. She didn't flinch. Then Jason, with a sudden surge of frustrated anger, shoved her shoulder. Hard. She fell back. Her chair clattered loudly. A gunshot sound in the sudden silence. The cafeteria went absolutely silent. Everyone turned. Every single eye was on Emma. Laughter bubbled from a few corners, quickly dying. But Lily's sharp gasp cut through the fading noise. Emma got up slowly. Her eyes met Jason's. Something shifted. In her posture, subtle but undeniably powerful. Her back straightened. Her gaze locked onto his. Unblinking. Jason, still trying to project dominance, laughed again. A forced, hollow sound. "What? You going to cry now?" But Emma didn't cry. She stepped forward. Not fast, not aggressive, just calm, measured. "You've been looking for a fight," she said, her voice soft, deadly. "You finally found one." Tyler chuckled, taking a step forward. "Oh, please, you can't possibly—" Before he could even finish the sentence, Emma moved. A blur, swift, precise. She effortlessly sidestepped Jason's wild shove, swept his leg from under him. He hit the ground, hard, before he even registered what had happened. Tyler, emboldened, lunged, and she twisted his wrist in a controlled, painful hold, not breaking it, but forcing him down. Brent, the third bully, froze mid-step, his eyes wide with sudden fear. Gasps filled the entire cafeteria. Phones came out, clicking, recording. Emma's voice was steady, clear, resonant. "I don't like hurting people ever, but don't mistake kindness for weakness," she released. Tyler gently helped him stand. Then she looked directly at Jason, still sprawling on the floor. "You could be better than this." "Much better. You just choose not to be." Jason's pride. It burned hotter, more fiercely, than the sting of his fall. He wanted to lash out again, to scream, to fight, but the look in her eyes stopped him cold. It wasn't anger he saw. It was something deeper, something unsettling, pity. Teachers rushed in, late to the chaos, screaming, demanding order. But by then, Emma had already picked up her small backpack and walked out, calmly, as if nothing at all had happened. Lily caught up to her outside, breathless, limping fast. "Emma, that was amazing!" Emma shook her head. A slight sad smile. It wasn't. It was necessary. The word spread fast, like wildfire.